Hey everyone, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new stories. It was 2 a.m. on a Tuesday when I finally dragged myself back from a grueling 36-hour stint at the hospital. My feet were so puffy they hardly squeezed into my sneakers. The apartment felt cold and quiet, like a blank slate. He was there waiting. My dad, Dr. Robert Ellis, perched in the shadows on his favorite recliner, his expression hard as rock. He wasn't glancing my way. His eyes were locked on my tablet. My artwork. He lifted it high. I checked your computer, he muttered. His tone was eerily calm, the kind he reserved in the operating room right before delivering bad news. You're tossing aside 10 years of effort. A doctor's degree for this. He shook the tablet, showing off an intricate virtual model I'd poured a whole month into. This worthless pixel trash. You're a disgrace. He rose to his feet and finally met my gaze. Get out. Have you ever had someone dismiss your dream as pointless or just a silly side thing? Share your experience below in the comments. I read every single one. I didn't shed a tear. I didn't plead. I simply pivoted, headed to my bedroom, stuffed one gym bag, and walked away from the future everyone expected of me. Stepping out of that upscale Lincoln Park brick home, it hit me. It had never felt like a real home. It was more like a training ground, a shrine to the Ellis medical tradition. My dad, Dr. Robert Ellis, led the surgery department. My mom, Laura, headed up the hospital's fundraising committee. My big brother, James, was the star pupil, a surgery fellow who lived for the clean, controlled world of the operating theater like it was his lifeline. And me, I was the odd one out, the kid who noticed patterns and elegance, not just vitals and scans. Family meals in our house weren't relaxed gatherings. They were like intense case reviews. We'd gather around the huge polished oak table, and Dad would quiz us hard. James, he'd say, walk through the possible causes for someone showing up with sharp upper belly pain. James would perk up, eyes sparkling. You'd start by excluding a heart attack, but it's probably sudden pancreas inflammation, gallbladder issues, or a burst stomach ulcer. He excelled. He was Dad's perfect reflection. Then Dad's focus would shift to me. Emily, your anatomy exam. 94, yeah. Look, 94 isn't perfect. 94 is for runners-up. The Elises don't settle for second place. Mom would force a thin smile and fidget with the forks. Her whole existence was a show for some unseen crowd. Her go-to line, the one that echoed through my younger years, was a sharp murmur. Emily, what will everyone say? I was the family's biggest risk. The one who, at 15, signed up for a metalworking course and crafted a tiny, twisted bird figure. I carried it home beaming with pride. Dad eyed it, his mouth twisting in disgust. What a pointless use of decent steel. He snapped and flipped open his surgery magazine. I hid the bird deep in my closet. The day I received my white coat at the med school event was meant to be my shining moment. Dad snapped the picture, his grip firm on my arm. I grinned, but all I sensed was the stiff fabric around my neck. It wasn't a coat. It was a restraint. I couldn't name it back then, but we weren't a real family. We were a dynasty. We weren't kids. We were investments meant to deliver and produce glory and prestige. That's the signature of a give and take family setup. Affection comes with strings. It's not unconditional. It's a reward for protecting the family image. For so long, I chased a warmth that was never there. At least until Dad's outburst that night. That's when it clicked. He wasn't mad that I was letting myself down. He was livid that I was letting him down. I wasn't only his kid. I was his stake, and I was tanking it. So I was cut off. At 25, kicked out with $10,000 saved up and a gym bag of clothes reeking of disinfectant. First move, I headed to a trash bin behind a greasy spoon and ditched my pale blue scrubs. I saw the white material vanish beneath old coffee filters. It was the deepest breath I'd taken in days. That evening, I settled into a cramped little apartment in a rough area. Rent was low and the walls were super thin. I landed a gig making coffee. The joke wasn't lost on me. After all that crushing school grind, all that status, now I was steaming milk for $8 an hour. This was my reset, my detour. But the evenings? Those belong to me. I snagged a used computer with my initial paycheck. Sleep? Forgotten. I just created. I channeled everything. The anger, the sorrow, the shame, the 25 years of feeling unseen into my designs. I shaped with glow and programming, building huge, unreal forms that ignored physics. Pieces that were stunning and shattered simultaneously. I was totally isolated, crafting in emptiness, until I shared one creation on a niche online art group. A note appeared. This isn't mere programming. This is heart. His name was Alex Chun. He was 27, managing the group from his own small place in Seoul. He didn't view junk. He spotted brilliance. We chatted for hours, then days, then weeks. He was like me, and creator tucked away in a society that didn't understand. He's the one who spotted the opportunity. A fresh award for up-and-coming virtual creators, with a $750,000 top prize. You've got to enter, Emily. He told me this isn't only art. It's what's next. I submitted my works, hoping for zilch. 6 weeks on, an email came that left my fingers trembling. I'd taken the $750,000. It was poetic payback, instant fairness. We didn't squander a dime. Alex flew to Chicago. We invested it all in our vision, a groundbreaking site, a virtual showcase where creators could display in dynamic, engaging environments, and crucially get compensated. We went live on a Friday. By Monday, our systems were overwhelmed. More than 1 million hits. The art scene, which had long overlooked virtual pieces, now couldn't ignore it. That's when the call came from a major global elite art foundation in Zurich. They weren't only eyeing the site. They wanted my full first series and the site's key tech. After half a year of talks, they delivered the closing bid. $25 million. $25 million. The figure just stared back from my display. It didn't seem tangible. Just digits. No bubbly. No party. I booked a single flight out of Chicago. I escaped the chilly, stark, medical town that trapped all my shadows. And I headed for light. To Santa Fe. Pulled by the ground, the heat, the spirit of the high plains. I spotted a listing online. It wasn't a stuffy, wealthy brick house like Dad's. It was the reverse. A wide, simple clay home that seemed to rise naturally from the rust-colored soil, gazing over a huge, quiet gorge. I shelled out $22 million for it. All cash. The highlight wasn't a fancy dance hall or towering entry. It was a workshop, a gigantic barn-like area with a full glass side framing the whole desert view. The day the deal wrapped, I entered that bare house. The quiet was overwhelming. My steps rang on the tile floors. I paused in my workshop in this $22 million haven of creation and felt empty. Just icy doubt. This is the secret ache of the victor. The instant you grab what you believed you craved and panic sets in. You're merely a kid pretending in a space you haven't earned. I gazed at the flawless bare skyline, and all that filled my mind was my dad, Dr. Ellis, clutching lives in his palms. He's a surgeon. He rescues folks. I just craft attractive stuff. The remorse was choking. I'd fled, messed with my pixel junk, and lucked into wealth I hadn't worked for. I was a fake in my own story. The fake feeling didn't stick. The tasks were too intense. The deal closed, and the following months flew by in a haze. I wasn't solely a creator. I led a fresh creativity center, teaming with Alex and the Zurich crew to merge the site. I was swamped. I was locked in. And for the first time, it matched who I was. I was so deep in it that I nearly overlooked the message. From a writer at Art Review, the go-to guide for modern art. They wanted a profile on me. The piece dropped 3 weeks later. The front was a clean image of my workshop, the planes shining behind. The headline, The $25 million Phantom, How Emily Ellis, a Nobody, Became Digital Art's Fresh Icon. It was kind. It mostly traced my quiet departure from the famed Ellis medical empire, as they dubbed it, and my rapid, booming entry into art. Packed with shiny shots of my Santa Fe home, the workshop, the endless pool, the open, airy living areas. I scanned it, sensed a weird, distant pride, and returned to tasks. 2 days on, My phone vibrated, an unfamiliar Chicago area code. I nearly ignored it. I hadn't talked to anyone from there in close to a year, but a chilly interest made me pick up. Hello. A voice I hadn't caught in 18 months. Hey sis. Been a while. James. His tone was smooth, forced warm, the vibe he pulled at hospital galas with big donors. I could almost see the phony grin. What's this about, James? Wow. Cutting right to it? Just checking in. Caught that art review story. Pretty amazing. And man, that's some pad you've got. My gut froze. There it was. Mom and Dad read the piece too. He went on, sounding fake relaxed. And we chatted. It's been forever. Figured we'd all fly out this weekend. To catch up. Catch up. The term lingered. A shiny trap. This wasn't mending fences. This was a takeover. They hadn't reached out when I was cut loose. Not when I was pouring lattes and scraping by. Not to check if I was okay. But now the $25 million phantom owned a $22 million spread. And all of a sudden, they longed for me. They wanted to catch up. This was the gut punch, the real sting. The initial punch was the cash. This next one exposed their true flawed heart, their scheme. Their wrong wasn't only harshness. It was that their care was utterly, blatantly deal-based, and the art review piece was the first bill they got. I sensed a sharp, cool focus. Okay, I replied. My tone was level and firm as the plane's ground. This weekend. I ended the call before he could respond. This wasn't a get-together. It was an inspection, and I was set for it. They pulled up Saturday morning. Climbing out of a dark rented SUV into the blazing High Plains light, they seemed wrong here. Dad, Robert, in a crisp jacket. Mom, Laura, with pearls and a silky blouse. James in casual shoes. They screamed Chicago, stiff and dull, plopped into Santa Fe's warm, natural tones. I greeted them at the entrance. Mom attempted a hug, rigid and clumsy. I didn't hug back. Emily, your place, she said, eyes big as she entered the main area. It's huge. It's not like Lincoln Park, I noted. They were clearly floored. I saw them absorb the 20-foot highs, the glass expanse over the gorge, the soft glow, the unique personal pieces I'd gathered. It was the flip of our old house. Their brick home was dim, weighty, chilly, stuffed with decor to admire, not use. Mine was bright, cozy mine. I showed them around, like a broker in my space. I stayed courteous, distant. This is the workshop, I said, swinging open the doors. They froze, quiet. James approached one of my in-progress virtual forms, a giant twisting shape on multiple screens. This is your thing, he said. This is it, I confirmed. Notable, Dad said. But his words were strained. He wasn't eyeing the work. He was sizing the room, figuring the area. We ate on the deck. The spread was gorgeous. A nearby cook whipped up a regional meal. But the vibe was heavy, hard to inhale. Mom tried chit-chat. This dip is great. Emily, your recipe? Catered, Mom. Oh, right. James poked his food. Dad spun his water. Jaw locked. At last, after clearing, he folded his napkin. Cleared his throat. Emily, he started, staring at the peaks. Not me. We're not only here for the tour. Here we go. Your brother. He halted, hunting words. His solo clinic is hurting. He gambled big. The debts are hefty. I eyed James. He fixated on his hands. Face ashen. The perfect son. The surgery star who never faltered. Wouldn't look up. Mom chimed in, tone suddenly cheery and backing. We figured, Emily, with your wins. She waved at the house, the gorge, the sky. Like it was all a balance sheet. You could pitch in, she said. A stake. Truly? To prop up your brother? To hold the Ellis name high. And there it was. The raw exposure. The open flop. It wasn't mending. No sorry. It was a pitch. They hadn't crossed the country for their girl. They'd come for their cash machine. I felt an odd, icy steady wash over me. For the first time ever, no hurt. No fury. Just sight. I saw them plain. They weren't here for me. They brought a tab. I let the quiet linger, their ask floating in the warm plains breeze. I scanned them. Mom. Laura. Fingering her pearls, craving the old comfy fib. Brother James. The star, now just a frail guy at his knees. And Dad, Dr. Robert Ellis, surgery chief, who could cradle a beating heart but couldn't handle one. I felt zilch. No fire, no past ache, just truth. You're not here to catch up, I said. My words soft but slicing the quiet. You're here with a tab. Mom began to object. Emily, that's unfair. We're family. No, I cut in. Not loud. Just fact. Dad's gaze jerked up. He wasn't used to no. No, he echoed like he misheard. No, I repeated. I'm not funding James's clinic. I'm not propping the Ellis name. I'm over that name. I rose. They seemed tiny from up there. I was so hungry for your okay, I said. I twisted myself for 25 years, aiming to be the next best Ellis. But kicking me out freed me, and I found folks who see reality. I thought of my guide, Helen Brooks, the 60-year-old gallery boss who mentored me on arriving in Santa Fe. Helen showed me your world versus mine. I said, she put it, Dad, you live taking. All deals. You use healing not to fix, but for rank, cash, power. You don't see James as son. You see a heritage stock that's dipping. Dad paled. James winced. You're here today to take from me. I went on. But I'm living giving. My work, this pixel trash, it connects people. It sparks. It makes fresh worth. I step to the deck edge, eyeing the gorge. I am investing. Just signed. I'm backing a local art spot in Santa Fe. For kids without much. Kids like young me, told their dream waste good steel. I'm giving tools room to make. That's my mark. Dad, not yours. I faced them. They were mute. Beaten at last seeing me true. Not as kid, but as force they'd lost. Guest beds are set, I said, tone even. But you should go. Dad stood a beat. I expected shouts, the old fire, but nada. Just blank chill. He nodded. Once. Laura, James, they went. I didn't watch the drive off. 6 months later. My workshop's alive with giggles and mess. Alex relocated here. He handles the site from the annex. Helen drops in for drinks on Fridays, and weekends bring the art spot kids. We tackle a huge group piece. We spill, we build. I watch them, Alex, Helen, the crew I picked, the crew I made, and feel a calm no cash could touch. I'm Emily Ellis, cut off by blood, but I claim my path. Not in their forced glory, but the plan I sketched myself. So what's your plan? What are you crafting? Tell me in the comments.